My name is Louise Carreau and I live in Gaspésie, Quebec, in between Rimouski and Matane. If you've heard of the Métis Garden, I live in Métis-sur-Mer. I'm a self-taught weaver and I have been weaving for over 40 years, and I work mainly on multiple shaft looms. So I work on 12 and 16 shaft looms, which are a bit more intricate, but all looms operate in the same fashion. So it's crossing threads together that will make fabric. So this small collection I have here is called Obi, and it's based on the Japanese belt that is worn over the kimonos. So this is the Obi Labrador collection. So in this piece, it is silk, which is very, very fine. The warp, and then the weft is linen, and in this case the weft is wool, and the same here, but it's a bit different. The silk is a very, very, very fine thread. If I was to count how many of those threads are here, I don't think you would believe me. It'd be as simple as that. This is not a pattern. It's something that I create as I go. And on this side, it's again the Obi collection. In this case here, it's slightly different. It's all linen. And for the Obi itself, I spun and dyed the linen here with a bit of indigo, and the inserts in the linen are also in hand dyed. I weave what I see, that's what I do. So those were really the colors I saw in Labrador in the fall. So it's the small berries, it's the moss, and it's the leaves. In this case, the warp is cotton, but the weft is wool, 100% wool. And they're tiny, tiny little pieces of wool, and not one weft is the same. So it is, in fact, it's the story of Labrador here, and that's all. That's what it is, this one.
So I'm Barbara Launder, and I'm here in Pictou showing some work at Gallery 202, and I live in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. Pictou is kind of the epicenter for Scottish Canadian history. And as you know, it's the anniversary of the landing of the Hector, which brought the first big group of Scottish Highland settlers to this part of the world many years ago. And the work that I'm showing here has to do with Scottishness and ideas about Scottishness, and some of the sort of family lore that people like me might have about Scottishness. And it's a kind of playful look at that lore, and also trying to unpick it apart in the way that you might unpick a weaving or a textile or a kilt or something. So that's what my work is about. For me, the work 20-some years ago started with the discovery about the meaning of my last name. So my last name is Launder, and I didn't know until I was in my 20s that it was actually a word that comes from Scottish language, and it's a verb, and to launder someone means to bludgeon them. It's a war term. What I've done with a lot of the earlier works is construct pieces that use my name Launder as part of the work. So I've created what are called mesostics, which are almost like puzzles where there's a word that runs vertically through a gridded arrangement of words. And that word that runs down the middle of my mesostics is my last name, Launder. And then making up the rest of each line are lines of poetry or lines of prose taken from different Scottish writers. Another thing that I'll point out here in the gallery is that at this time in showing the work, I've brought Ian Rankin books right into the gallery. So underneath each of the three pieces that feature some words and phrases from Ian Rankin, you'll find a stack of his paperbacks. That's a kind of a reference, I guess, to the history and the historical element in my work, but also the fact that this Scottish culture and this fascination with kind of the very hearty and sometimes violent aspects of Scottish culture is still alive. So, you know, tartans, you see them in all of the work that I'm showing here. A lot of the garments were lent to me by people who have Scottish heritage, who I know, and I scanned their garments on the scanner and then constructed these wordplay pieces with them. One other thing I'd like to point out is over here, and it's just here by the baseboard is a granite stone, and it's been carved, very roughly carved, and it's an example of what I would call a set, S-E-T-T, and a set has two meanings that I know of. One is cobblestone, so especially in cities like Edinburgh, a set would be a cobblestone that you would see used to make the streets and curves and so on. But a set is also the name for the pattern of warp and weft colors and threads that would make up one particular pattern. And when you have one complete unit, that's called a set. I'm hoping that people have a lot of fun with it and that we understand a little bit better about how textiles and fabric and cloth that we wear is made, but also how it makes us. It informs our sense of identity, who we are, and where we come from.